The exploding number of wild boars in the prairies has been a concern for decades. A leading researcher says we've already missed the window to eradicate the pests and warns these hogs are a real risk.
Wild boars have become one of the most serious problems for farmers in many parts of the world. These animals may look like ordinary pigs, but they are much stronger, smarter, and more destructive than most people imagine. For many farmers, waking up in the morning has turned into a moment of fear instead of peace. A field that looked healthy the night before can be completely ruined by sunrise. Crops are torn out of the ground, soil is dug up, and irrigation systems are broken. In some cases, the damage is so bad that farmers lose their entire harvest in just a few nights. This is not just a small issue affecting a few people. It is a growing global problem that is spreading across countries like Canada, the United States, Brazil, and many parts of Europe. Wild boars are highly adaptable animals, which means they can live in forests, farms, mountains, and even near cities. They eat almost anything, including crops, roots, insects, and small animals. Because of this, they can survive in many different environments and continue to grow in number. One of the biggest reasons this problem is getting worse is their fast reproduction. Female wild boars can give birth to many piglets several times a year, and those piglets grow quickly and start reproducing in a short time. This creates a cycle where their population increases very fast, making it harder for farmers and authorities to control them. Traditional methods like hunting, fencing, and small traps have been used for many years, but they are no longer enough. Wild boars are intelligent animals. They learn from danger and quickly change their behavior. If they escape a trap once, they remember it and avoid it in the future. This makes them very difficult to catch. In addition to destroying crops, wild boars also damage the environment. They dig up soil while searching for food, which destroys plant roots and makes it harder for new plants to grow. This can harm forests and reduce biodiversity over time. Their digging also releases carbon stored in the soil into the air, which can contribute to climate change. Another serious issue is the spread of disease. Wild boars can carry dangerous diseases that affect farm animals and sometimes humans. One of the most feared diseases is African swine fever, which is deadly for pigs and can cause huge losses in the farming industry. When this disease spreads to farms, it often leads to the death of all pigs in that area, causing massive financial damage. Because of all these problems, farmers have been forced to think of new and creative ways to protect their land. One of the most interesting and effective ideas has come from farmers who decided to change the land itself instead of just trying to scare the animals away. They began digging deep trenches around their fields. These trenches act as a physical barrier that wild boars cannot easily cross. The idea is simple but powerful. When a boar tries in a field, it either falls into the ditch or turns away because it cannot climb out easily. This method has shown surprising success in many areas. Crops inside the protected fields remain safe, and farmers experience far less damage. While this solution is not perfect and requires effort and money, it has given farmers hope. It shows that even a simple idea, when used correctly, can make a big difference in solving a problem that once seemed impossible to control. While digging deep trenches has helped many farmers protect their crops, this method is not perfect and comes with several challenges. Building a trench around a farm requires a lot of time, effort, and money. Farmers often need heavy machines to dig deep and wide ditches, especially if the land is large or the soil is hard and rocky. For small farmers, this cost can be very difficult to manage. Even after the trench is built, the work does not end. Trenches need regular maintenance to stay effective. Rain can fill them with water, turning them into muddy pits instead of strong barriers. In some cases, the walls of the trench collapse, making it easier for wild boars to cross. During heavy rainy seasons, trenches can even cause flooding by blocking natural water flow, which can damage nearby land or even create problems with neighboring farms. Because of these issues, farmers must constantly check and repair the trenches, which adds more work to their daily routine. Another problem is safety. Trenches can be dangerous for people, animals, and farm equipment. Tractors and other machines can accidentally fall into them, especially at night or in bad weather like fog. There have been cases where farmers or workers were injured because they did not see the trench in time. To prevent accidents, farmers often have to build small bridges or put up warning signs, which increases the cost even more. Wild animals other than boars can also fall into these trenches. Deer, cattle, and other animals sometimes get trapped, creating additional problems for farmers who must rescue them. Despite these difficulties, trenches are still considered one of the most effective, simple solutions available. However, farmers soon realize that stopping wild boars from entering one field does not solve the entire problem. The animals simply move to another area. This means the problem is not removed, only shifted. Because of this, experts began to look for smarter and more complete solutions. One important idea that has gained attention is removing entire groups of wild boars instead of just a few individuals. Wild boars live in family groups called sounders, and these groups learn and move together. If only some of them are caught or killed, the remaining animals become more careful and harder to catch in the future. They learn from the danger and avoid traps, making control efforts less effective over time. To solve this issue, farmers and wildlife experts develop a method that focuses on patience and planning. They start by placing food, often called bait, in an open area where wild boars are known to visit. This bait is usually made from corn mixed with other ingredients to create a strong smell that attracts the animals. At first, no traps are used. The goal is to make the boars feel safe and comfortable. Over several days or even weeks, the animals begin to trust the area and return regularly to eat. Farmers use cameras to watch their behavior and count how many boars are in the group. They wait until all members of the sounder are coming to the bait. This step is very important because catching only part of the group can make future efforts more difficult. Once the entire group is used to feeding in one place, a large trap is set up around the bait area. These traps are much bigger than traditional ones and are designed to capture many animals at once. Some of them even have remote control gates that farmers can close when all the boars are inside. This increases the chances of capturing the whole group in a single attempt. This method has shown much better results compared to older techniques. It reduces the number of animals quickly and prevents the survivors from becoming smarter and more difficult to catch. Even though this process takes time and careful planning, it is considered one of the most effective ways to control wild boar populations in the long term. Even with better trapping methods and physical barriers like trenches, the fight against wild boars is far from over. One of the biggest reasons for this is the intelligence of these animals. Wild boars are not like many other pests that simply fall into traps again and again. They learn quickly from experience. If a boar escapes danger once, it remembers what happened and becomes more careful in the future. This learning ability is not limited to just one animal. Because wild boars live in family groups, the knowledge spreads. Younger boars watch older ones and learn how to avoid traps, fences, and even humans. Over time, this creates groups that are very difficult to control. Some boars refuse to enter traps no matter how much bait is used. They stay at a distance, observe an area, and waiting for signs of danger. These cautious animals often survive longer and continue to reproduce, passing their careful behavior to the next generation. This means that each new generation of wild boars can become smarter and harder to manage than the last. Another major challenge is how quickly wild boar populations grow. Female boars can give birth to large numbers of piglets, and they can do this more than once a year. The young grow fast and reach maturity in a short time, which means they can start reproducing quickly as well. Because of this rapid cycle, even if a large number of boars are removed, the population can recover in a short period. Experts often say that more than half of the population must be removed just to stop it from growing. Anything less than that allows the numbers to rise again. This makes control efforts very demanding and requires continuous action over time. In addition to damaging crops and land, wild boars also pose serious health risks. They carry diseases that can affect farm animals and sometimes humans. One of the most dangerous diseases is African swine fever, which spreads quickly among pigs and has no cure. When this disease reaches a farm, all the pigs usually have to be destroyed to stop it from spreading further. This can cause huge financial losses for farmers and even affect the supply of pork in entire regions. Wild boars can spread this disease through direct contact, but also indirectly through contaminated soil, water, or even dead animals. This makes it very difficult to control once it appears in an area. Because of these risks, Many countries have started working together to find better solutions. In some regions, large-scale operations are used to reduce wild boar populations. These operations combine different methods, such as trapping, control hunting, and the use of technology like drones and night vision equipment. Since wild boars have become more active at night to avoid humans, these tools are very helpful. Drones can cover large areas and locate groups of animals, while night vision equipment allows teams to work effectively in the dark. However, these methods require money, training, and coordination between different groups, including farmers, government agencies, and wildlife experts. This makes them harder to use in areas with limited resources. Another important idea that has gained attention is changing the environment to reduce the attraction for wild boars. For example, in some places, experts have created safe areas away from farms where boars can find food and water. This reduces the chances of them entering farmland or cities. In urban areas, steps like securing garbage bins and removing food waste have helped reduce boar activity. These methods do not completely solve the problem, but they help manage it in a more balanced way. The fight against wild boars is not simple and does not have a single solution. It requires a combination of strategies, patience, and cooperation. Farmers, scientists, and governments must continue to work together and adapt their methods as the animals continue to evolve and learn as the wild boar problem continues to grow across different parts of the world. Countries have started to develop new and creative strategies to deal with it. In Europe, the situation has become especially serious because wild boars are no longer staying only in forests or farms. They are now entering cities, parks, and residential areas. In places like Italy and Spain, people have reported seeing wild boars walking through streets, searching for food in garbage bins, and even coming close to homes. This has created fear and danger for local communities. Car accidents involving wild boars have also increased, as these animals often cross roads suddenly, especially at night. In some cases, these accidents have caused serious injuries and even deaths. Because of these risks, governments and experts have realized that traditional methods like simple hunting are no longer enough. They need smarter and more organized approaches. One of the most effective modern solutions is the use of large group traps, often called systems similar to the pig brig. These traps are designed to capture entire groups of wild boars at once, rather than catching one or two animals at a time. The idea behind this method is based on understanding how wild boars behave. Since they live and move in groups, removing the whole group at once prevents survivors from learning and avoiding traps in the future. These traps are usually set up with bait inside, and once all the animals enter, the system closes around them. Some advanced versions even allow remote control, so the operator can wait until every animal is inside before activating the trap. This greatly increases the success rate and reduces the chances of escape. Another important strategy used in Europe is fencing. In countries like Germany, long fences have been built around areas where dangerous diseases like African swine fever have been found. These fences are not just simple barriers. They are carefully planned to control the movement of wild boars and prevent them from spreading the disease to new areas. In some cases, entire zones are surrounded by fences, creating controlled areas where experts can monitor and manage the population more effectively. Within these zones, teams search for dead animals, remove them safely, and limit human activity to reduce the risk of spreading infection. This method requires strong coordination between different groups, including government agencies, veterinarians, and local communities. Another interesting approach focuses on changing the environment instead of directly controlling the animals. In some areas, scientists have studied why wild boars enter cities and farms. They found that the animals are often searching for food, water, and places to cool off, especially in hot weather. To solve this, they created special areas outside cities that provide these resources. These places include water pools, food sources, and safe shelter. By giving wild boars what they need in a controlled location, experts can reduce their movement into urban areas. This method does not eliminate the animals, but helps manage their behavior in a safer way. Cities have also taken steps to reduce the attraction for wild boars. For example, stronger garbage containers have been introduced to stop animals from accessing food waste. In some places, plants that attract boars have been removed from public areas. Nighttime patrols and control hunting are also used where it is safe to do so. Another new idea that is still being developed is fertility control. Scientists are working on ways to reduce the reproduction of wild boars by using special bait that contains contraceptives. This bait is designed so that only wild boars can access it, preventing harm to other animals. By reducing the number of births over time, the population can slowly decrease without the need for constant removal. While this method is still being tested, it shows promise as a long-term solution. All of these strategies show that dealing with wild boars requires more than one approach. It is not enough to rely on a single method. Instead, a combination of smart planning, technology, and understanding of animal behavior is needed to manage this growing problem effectively. The fight against wild boars teaches us an important lesson. Dealing with invasive species is never simple, and humans must adapt just as much as the animals do. Across Canada, the United States, Europe, and other parts of the world, wild boars continue to challenge farmers, authorities, and scientists. Each country faces unique problems. In Canada and the United States, the main challenge is protecting crops, livestock, and forests from animals that are strong, intelligent, and reproduce quickly. In Europe, the added risk of diseases like African swine fever makes the situation even more urgent. Controlling wild boar populations requires patience, money, planning, and coordination. Farmers must work together, sharing knowledge and strategies. Authorities must monitor populations, track disease outbreaks, and provide support. Scientists study the animal's behavior to find the most effective ways to manage them. Solutions that work in one country may not work in another, so each strategy must be adapted to local conditions. One of the most important tools is understanding wild boar behavior. These animals are highly intelligent, social, and adaptable. By learning how they move, feed, and reproduce, humans can develop methods that work with their behavior rather than against it. For example, capturing entire family groups at once prevents survivors from learning to avoid traps. Providing safe feeding areas in urban zones keeps animals away from dangerous streets. Fertility control reduces births over time and helps slow population growth. Physical barriers like trenches and fences protect fields, but they must be maintained and carefully planned to avoid accidents, flooding, or erosion. Another key lesson is that early action is critical. When wild boars first enter a new area, populations are small and damage can be minimized more easily. Delaying action allows populations to grow, making control much more difficult and expensive. Once established, wild boars can adapt to many environments, survive extreme weather, and even avoid human detection by being active at night. This means that preventive measures are far more effective than waiting until the problem becomes a crisis. Collaboration between countries is also important. Wild boars do not respect borders, and diseases like African swine fever can spread quickly across regions. Sharing research, technologies, and strategies allows countries to respond faster and reduce risks. For example, lessons learned from Brazilian farmers who built trenches can inspire solutions in North America or Europe, even if the exact methods need to be adjusted. Similarly, fertility control techniques or urban management strategies developed in Europe can guide actions in other regions facing similar challenges. The human cost of controlling wild boars is another consideration. Farmers and workers face physical risks when digging trenches or handling traps. Equipment can be damaged, accidents may happen, and safety must always be a priority. Effective strategies must balance efficiency with human safety, considering both short-term protection and long-term sustainability. In the end, managing wild boars is a continuous effort. There is no single solution, and half measures are often ineffective. Success depends on combining multiple approaches: trapping, hunting, fencing, fertility control, environmental modification, and careful planning. By observing the animals, understanding their habits, and coordinating efforts across communities and governments, it is possible to reduce damage, protect crops, and slow the spread of diseases. The story of wild boars is both a warning and an example of human ingenuity. It shows the challenges of living alongside a highly adaptable species, but also demonstrates that careful observation, creativity, and persistence can make a difference. Farmers and authorities may not completely eliminate wild boars, but with consistent effort, they can protect their land, livestock, and communities. This battle reminds us that humans and nature are connected. Managing wildlife requires respect, patience, and understanding. By learning from successes and failures around the world, societies can develop smarter, safer, and more sustainable methods to live alongside these clever and resilient animals. Ultimately, the fight against wild boars is ongoing. It requires vigilance, collaboration, and the willingness to adapt strategies as conditions change. Those who take the time to plan carefully, study the animals, and act together have the best chance of success. While the challenge is large, the lessons learned from these efforts can guide future wildlife management projects, protecting both human livelihoods and the natural environment for generations to come. Imagine waking up one morning to see your fields ruined, your crops destroyed, and your water pipes bent or broken. For farmers in Canada, this scary scene is becoming all too common because wild boars keep coming onto their land. Normal hunting, fences, and small traps have not worked to stop these strong, smart animals, leaving farmers feeling helpless. But now, something new has emerged. It is clever, daring, and it is changing everything. Could this finally stop the wild boar problem in Canada? This article explores the details. Across the world, a quiet but destructive invasion has been unfolding for years. Wild boars, also called wild pigs, have spread far beyond their original habitats and settled into places where they do not belong. These animals are strong, adaptable, and extremely persistent. Once they arrive in an area, they rarely leave. Instead, they multiply, spread outward, and slowly take over surrounding land. In Brazil, for example, this problem has become especially serious. Wild boars were originally brought into the country several decades ago for farming and hunting. At the time, they were seen as useful animals and even a possible source of income. However, many escaped captivity, and others were intentionally released. Once free, they mixed with local pigs and quickly formed large, fast-breeding populations. From that moment on, control was lost. Today, wild boars can be found across nearly every natural region of Brazil. They live in forests, grasslands, wetlands, farmland, and even dry areas where survival seems difficult. Wherever they go, they leave damage behind. Their bodies are heavy, their snouts are strong, and their behavior is destructive. They dig constantly, turning over soil in search of roots, insects, and anything else they can eat. Fields that once held healthy crops are often left looking torn apart, uneven, and lifeless. For farmers, this damage is sudden and devastating. A field that looked healthy one evening can be completely destroyed by morning. Crops such as corn, soy, and sugarcane are especially vulnerable. Entire harvests can be wiped out in just a few nights. For small farmers, this can mean the loss of their only source of income. For larger farms, the losses can reach enormous financial levels. Beyond farmland, wild boars also cause deep harm to nature itself. They uproot plants, destroy young trees, disturb animal nests, and damage water sources. Forest floors are churned up, making it difficult for native plants to grow back. Seeds that should help forests recover are eaten or destroyed. Over time, this weakens entire ecosystems and makes them less able to survive other pressures, such as climate change and deforestation. Their constant digging also releases carbon stored in the soil into the air, contributing to global warming. Many solutions have been tried to stop wild boars. Electric fences were installed around fields. Traps were set in areas where boars were active. Hunters were brought in. Scents, noises, and repellents were used. However, most of these methods failed over time. The animals learned quickly. They avoided danger, changed their habits, and returned once the threat was gone. In the middle of this growing crisis, one simple but bold idea emerged from a farmer in southern Brazil. Faced with repeated destruction of his crops, the farmer decided to try something different. Instead of relying on technology or temporary deterrents, he reshaped the land itself. Around his field, he dug a deep ditch several feet deep and wide enough to prevent wild boars from jumping across. The soil removed from the ditch was piled inward, forming a steep slope. The idea was simple. A boar trying to enter the field would either fall into the ditch or turn away. Climbing out on the field side would be nearly impossible. The solution worked. Wild boars approached the field, reached the ditch, and stopped. Some fell in and retreated. Others turned around immediately. The crops inside the ditch remained largely untouched. Losses dropped dramatically. In some seasons, the The farmer saved nearly all of his harvest. Word spread quickly. Other farmers visited, observed the ditch, and began building similar barriers around their own land. Over time, this method spread across many farming regions. In some areas, wire mesh was added to strengthen the slopes. Although the method required effort and planning, it offered something rare: long-term protection without constant monitoring. However, this solution was not perfect. Digging ditches required money, labor, and sometimes heavy machinery. In rainy seasons, water collected in the trenches, creating breeding grounds for mosquitoes and raising health concerns. Soil erosion became an issue in certain areas. Maintenance was necessary to prevent the ditches from filling in over time. Even with these drawbacks, the ditch became a symbol of resilience. It showed that simple, well-thought-out solutions could sometimes succeed where advanced methods failed. Still, it was clear that this alone could not solve the wider problem. If simple barriers and hard physical work can slow the destruction, what happens when the threat is not just strength or numbers, but intelligence, learning, and the ability to adapt faster than humans can respond? One of the most dangerous traits of wild boars is their intelligence. These animals are among the smartest mammals in the wild. They learn quickly, remember past experiences, and adjust their behavior based on what works and what does not. Wild boars live in social groups, often made up of related individuals. This means that knowledge spreads quickly within the group. Older boars, especially, become nearly impossible to catch. Over time, entire groups learn how to survive human efforts to remove them. Their intelligence also allows them to adapt to new environments. Wild boars can survive in extreme heat, cold winters, dry seasons, and flooded areas. They find food almost anywhere.